my goodness. Oh my goodness. See, that's excellent. Now you see that information that she shared about Fruit Loops. She told us why she liked Fruit Loops. They're crunchy, they're colorful, and they have a crunch even when they have milk. This is the kind of thing we have to do when we're dealing with ourselves. We've got to give some specific information that will allow the recruiter to say, I need to bring this person in to have a conversation. Miss Audrey, may we have the next? Oh, by the way, Miss Tara, I also love Fruit Loops. It's right after sugar frosted cornflakes. Miss Audrey, may we have the next slide? Thank you. Ready. We got it. Thank you. So in a resume, number one thing, please try and keep it simple. Please try and keep it simple. So clear section headings, bold type, capital letters, different color is fine, but number C is very important. Plenty of white space, plenty of white space. We want to skip the fancy graphics. One of the things that a lot of people have not recognized is that organizations will use something called ATS, or the Applicant Tracking System. And this collects, scans, and ranks your resume. So you want to keep it friendly. If you've got too much graphics, or if the resume is too wordy, if the format is difficult, then you're going to get a lower ATS rating. So you want to keep it simple. Again, use a summary statement of your skills rather than an objective. Some people are now saying that the objective is somewhat dated, and rather than have an objective, because again, that objective is about you, you want to use a summary of your skills that will be helpful for the employer. And always try and spotlight key skills. And of course, in your resume writing, you want to put your latest experience first, or you want to go start with your last position and then go backwards. All right, well, we are rolling along here. We've got about another half hour to go. So let's look at what our employers are looking for in a resume. In a resume, we want to make it as crisp and concise as possible. We want to also consider adding any relevant volunteer experience. If you volunteered for the American Heart Association, for your local church, if you volunteered at your local polling arena, any skills that you have acquired while volunteering that might be useful and relevant in that position you're hiring for, put it on your resume, and use bullet points to allow you to use more detail. Now, the number one thing that we want to remember is we have to keep it simple, keep it clean. In this next slide, it asks how to revise your resume if you have been furloughed. So before we get into this, let me just ask if we have any questions on what we've talked about so far. Ms. Carol or Ms. Shanice?
Yeah, I have time.
Okay. Ms. Shanice?
No.
All right.
No.
Okay. So how to revise your resume if you have been furloughed? You know, in this time of COVID, this has just changed so much for so many people. So many people have either lost a job outright or they've been furloughed. And so a lot of people are brushing off their resumes. So if you've been furloughed, that means that you are still with the organization. You are still with the firm. You're still part of the team. So we want to make sure that you do not write your job description in the past tense, because you still have that job. So you want to be sure and use the present tense. If you've been furloughed, you would not put an end date on the job. You put when you began, and the ending date should read present, because furlough means that you're still in the position. you want to highlight your responsibilities and accomplishments in your current job, and include projects you were working on before you were furloughed.
They still tough.
There's sometimes always different thoughts on whether or not to include the fact that you were furloughed. But the important thing, though, is to remember that your job did not end. So you want to write it in the present tense. Is Shanice, is that fairly clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to work from home during the current COVID crisis?
Yes, I'm still working from home.
All right. I heard a statistic yesterday that said Dallas is leading the country at 36% in terms of people going back to work. We are at the top of the list at 36%. New York is at the bottom of the list with about 11%. I'm curious, Tara, are your folks coming back to Blue Cross Blue Shield, coming back into the office?
Not as of yet. We are going in phases, and I work at the Richardson headquarters. So they have 2 towers and there's over 7,000 people on campus. So they brought in one particular department. It was IT, but for the remainder of the departments, it has been delayed. And then there's a corporate office in Chicago that we work with as well. We used to travel back and forth. They have not come back. We're pretty much, everything is virtual for now. So right now they haven't found a plan to get all of us in a building that size with that population and include social distancing, because really where I work, we had gone away from having offices pretty much like there were huddle rooms on every floor. And then we were in the process of going away from having desks. Were trying to do an open concept where people could collaborate more. So you wouldn't even have your own desk. You would have a locker that you would use, and you would just go in on your floor and it would be like a lounge area with tables. So they completed two floors like that, and we're in the process of taking other floors like that. But with the advance of COVID-19, they had to pull that back and now are having to rethink spacing with the amount of people that they have in the office. So every 2 or 3 months, the date keeps getting pushed.
Wow. Do you know if your coworkers are feeling good about coming back to the office, or if many of them would prefer to continue to work at home?
I think it's a mixture. You do mix the interaction. The team that I work with was on the 11th floor. I worked on the 11th floor and on the 2nd floor because all of the training rooms are on the 2nd floor, but the department that I support is on the 11th floor. So as far as missing the interaction amongst people, because everybody pretty much is trying to do the right thing with physical distancing, that is mixed. And some people are more so need the hands-on. And so it's very hard to do the hands-on and make an emotional connection when you're doing it virtual. Some people love working from home, and me, myself, I'm kind of a mix. You know, when you train, you can see the reaction of people on Zoom or on a WebEx, but you kind of need to have that face-to-face to make that connection that the digital divide emotionally doesn't translate.
All right. Well, it's very interesting. I'm very interested in that. I've been working here at home, and we're going into one of our spaces tomorrow, and we're going to have a meeting on site on Friday. So, you know, I see that, you know, little by little, we are moving back towards the office, but for 7,000 people, that presents some unique challenges.
Yes,
so Shanice, how many people are at your environment?
Actually, we have so many floors in our building. So like I would say we probably have 5 floors out of like 13. Those are different other companies. But in all, I can't say an exact number. But we haven't gone back into the office either for that same reason. They're just trying to make sure when we do go back, they're able to put in the right, I guess, social distancing guidelines and everything. Because right now we have mainly everyone is working in cubicles, but kind of like Sarah was saying, we do have some levels that have that open concept for like meeting spaces and things like that. So they're just trying to wait and see how they're gonna roll everybody back in at this point. And they actually just sent out a company-wide survey just seeing like how people feel about it and how they're able to do, I guess, for those with kids, like how they're able to like help them out as much as possible too, because some parents are still homeschooling. So it's just a lot that goes into it as far as that too. They're trying to get situated.
Well, this is September 2020. By December 2020, we're going to see what our brave new world looks like. And it is truly a brave new world. So Ms. Audrey, how about we're at the next slide, and this is how to update your resume if you are a laid off worker. And neither one of you or have been laid off, and we're going to say, we're going to praise God that neither one of you are in that situation. So we'll run through this quickly. If you are a laid off worker, it's totally changes from being furloughed. So if you have been laid off, then you have been in fact separated from the company. And so you are no longer employed, and your resume should indicate that. Your job description in this instance would be written in the past tense versus the present tense. But you still would have to showcase your achievements and any major initiatives that you were involved with in your last role. And this is more important than anything else on here, to showcase your achievements, any major initiatives that in your last role. You want to use your resume to allow you to be at the center stage. Your resume becomes your sales tool. Your resume becomes your voice. Your resume speaks for you in audiences so that it gets there before you, speaks for you. And of course, both of you are, I can tell, wonderfully professional. So I know that you would never allow any negative feelings to enter your resume, since you are wonderfully professional. So Ms. Shanice gave us an example last time. Let's ask Ms. Tara, as a corporate trainer, what type of initiatives or accomplishments would you like to showcase on your resume? What type are you showcasing right now on your resume?
Well, right now, what I would showcase is software transition and utilizing both software components during UAT testing and rolling it out to the department, and then successfully creating technical writing training tools during the transition of another project coordinator and taking on those roles.
All right. That's interesting that you mentioned software. So you told me that you were a corporate trainer. So I take it that there's a curriculum that you take your teams through, or?
Yes.
And then, so you're telling me that software is a major part of your job?
Yes. Kind of followed me from downtown. Yes, it is. The current system, the parent system that they use is aging out. It will age out at the end of last year. And so they had to bring on a new system. Well, because the new system was not necessarily built to maximum capacity to fulfill business needs, we've had to take on utilizing certain components of the current system along with certain components of the new system and making them work together to get the finished product, because the team that I work with and support works in compliance. So being that the new system had limited capabilities and they're still going back and forth with the software developer, then I had to actively participate in UAT testing and provide documentation as to why this particular component was needed if it had been left out, or is needed because it is currently in use.
Wow. Wow. All right. So, this is very interesting. And so so all of that, how do you find a way to keep that, get all of that in your resume and keep it to that one page? I noticed that when we were talking about one page, you had a look.
This look right here. I guess that's part of the reason that I'm trying to take on this class, because where in my previous employer, where I was for 16 years, I was middle management, but it was a smaller employer than Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so when they rolled out new software initiatives, I was always tagged or pegged to assist in those. And so my operations and business management, along with my training and managed skills, have always overlapped in project management. I did complete a project management certification. So my mindset is to maybe possibly try to format those and put them in a project management sphere rather than go, because if I go initially through the skills and experiences, I'm well over a page.
Okay. All right. But there is such value in keeping it to a page. And what we have found is that these recruiters that looking for that 6 seconds, well, I'll just get it to the bottom. Do you think you'll be able to keep it to a single page?
I'm not for sure. I'm going to try to format based off what I learned in this class, and then have a couple of my friends who are in HR to look at it and give me their recommendations. A lot of times, and that's why I enrolled in this class, I get both answers. I get put it all on one page, but then I get, no, your experience and your education needs to be highlighted. So you need to put it all out there. So it's kind of like 50-50. It's relative and subjective.
All right. I will just mention that when you are focused on the particular position and you focus on the particular skill set that will help you with just that one job, that seems to help a lot in terms of keeping it to one page. So that clarity of just saying, what is it that I'm trying to do and what specific skills do I think will help me get to where I'm trying to be? That typically helps us keep it to one page. But you know, sometimes you may not be able to do that. And I try and live a stress-free existence. And if you can't, you can't. How about that?
Works for me.
All right. Let's see. We want to, Miss Audrey, we're going to pass up all this information on jail. I don't think that or prison, I don't think that it is relevant to these ladies. And we don't want to no reason to bring that into the conversation. So we are towards the end of the presentation, and what we want to just go back through are a couple of things. Again, your resume should be ATS friendly. Ms. Eunice, you remember what we talked about when we talked about being ATS friendly? What are we trying to do with our resume in terms of keeping it so that the applicant tracking system will give us a good mark?
Making sure it doesn't get put in the bad pile immediately.
And how do we do that? What things do we want to make sure that we focus on to make sure that you don't go into the wrong pile?
Your formatting, and then I know you were saying like don't put the personal information such as a picture, things like that. And just making sure you have the keywords that they're looking for, basically what the employer, you're meeting their needs. So you have that included.
Excellent, excellent. So let me ask Tara. Tara, what way would you suggest that you are using the same language that your employer uses in terms of you creating your resume? How can you make sure you're using the same language? What may be some good strategies?
Google. Look at the job description and look at the actionable requirements that they have, and Google action verbs and or the thesaurus in Google to get synonyms and replace those words with that.
All right, all right. One of the things that we also suggest is that you look at different organizations that have the same positions and that you read multiple job descriptions. So if you were going in for a project manager, you might want to read a project manager job description, not only from, did you say Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Yes, ma'am.
But you might want to read a job description for a project manager from other insurance companies so that you can add some additional richness. So looking outside your organization for others in the company could be a useful way for you to be able to build up that vocabulary and just to get more knowledge about the position. So reading probably 3 to 4 at least job descriptions can be a very helpful thing in terms of being able to use the same language, words, and phrases that are commonly used in the job that you are seeking. Loretta here spends a lot of time with website creation. And one of the things that I've noticed about the websites that she has created is that they're very clean. Not too many words, lots of information on the page, but lots of white space on the page. And one of the things that I learned many years ago, and it's never left me, is that the eye is a tricky thing. If there's no white space on the page, the eye wants a place to go. And so when you are putting your pages together, you want to, again, be as concise as possible, have as much white space as possible, use headings, use your bold, your underline, even color to add interest to a page, but try and never just completely fill up the page. So this kind of takes me to the end of what I was wanting to work with you this morning. Again, remember, a recruiter on average spends 6 seconds with your resume. If they see something that makes them interested, they may spend up to 90 seconds on your resume, but the average person only gets 6 seconds. Remember that it's also a good idea to try and network. Try and network so that if you can put other, what am I wanting to say? If someone else can give you, give the interviewer a reason to want to see you, that would be a good thing. So networking is good. And Miss Audrey, I saw one last slide. If you'll put that back for me, just 1 second. All right. You could run your resume in the jobscan.com and see how you score. And if your score is not good, you can do that again. You can rewrite your resume or tweak your resume. If you put references on a resume, and always be sure and ask for permission, even if you've used them as a reference before. So in summary, our focus is to make you a great employee. Your achievements and your skills and your professionalisms are the reason your next employer will hire you, and it's what sets you apart. So just remember that what we're trying to do, the objective of what we're trying to do is to get in front of that interviewer, because in the interview is where you're going to completely, totally sell yourself. And that brings us to the next part of our presentation. I would like to ask Miss Audrey if she'll come in and take over and give us the next part of our presentation.
All righty, I thank you guys so much. We have someone that just joined the room. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into the 30-second pitch. Let me switch screens so you guys will take a little 2-minute break. While I pull this up, we'll be ready. I didn't.
Good morning, Kalisa. This is Corlisa Worsham. Corlisa, I'm Ruth Burton, and we've just worked on our resume writing. Miss Audrey Brown is pulling up her screen, and she's going to be talking to us concerning our 30-second commercial. we want to welcome you to our presentation this morning.
I'm almost there, guys. Hold on.
Ms. Carlisa, are you able to hear me? I believe you're still on mute.
Yes.
I think she's responding.
Sorry, I was
There you are,
responding
Ms.
in the
Kalisa.
chat. Yeah, I was responding in the chat. Hello, I am so sorry. I'm actually concluding my lunch, but I will be joining y'all for the upcoming sessions. I think there are 3 sessions included.
Okay.
So I apologize for my tardiness. I did catch the tail end, and I'm going to be jumping off to go back to work because I'm working from home. But thank you so much from what I caught.
Absolutely.
Okay, can everyone see the slide in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Let me do this. Let me stop there for just a second. So let me share this with everybody. I think, first of all, I want to say thank you all for joining us this morning and spending this time with us. I'm coming from a little different side. Sales is what I've done for 20 years. I started, as Jasmine shared with you all earlier, I've been at Sam. So I've done everything that's dealing with people and money. If I had to count the money and if I had to keep the people happy, that's what I did. And I truly enjoyed it. So the 30-second pitch was easy for me, and I wanted to share just a few things with you all that I've done, because I think there are some basic things that we do, and then there are a few things that we really don't think about, and I want to kind of share with you guys how I process and I share those things. So I'm going to go back to sharing this screen. So a little bit about me. I've been at the center. I think my screen is coming up. I've been at the center now for a year. The way I ended up at the center was I was with Sam's for 18 years. They called me into the office June 8, 2018. They told me I had 2 months and my job would no longer be available. Okay. I met a young lady that was attending classes at Fraser, and I ended up coming to the classes, fell in love with the center, the classes, and I said, okay, I'm ready for the next level. And it just kind of took off from there. I went from coming to classes to working part-time, and I have just truly enjoyed my time there, and I'm just continuously looking forward to the next level. The next slide I'm going to share are just the things that you need to have in that 30-second pitch. How many people have actually had to do this before or had to share with somebody in 30 seconds about, all right, I know you did, ma'am, or you do on a regular. Anybody else? Shanice, have you had to do that?
Whenever I got ready to graduate from UNT, an advisor would sit with us and just get us ready for interviews. And so they worked on us on like basically selling ourselves and giving that pitch.
Gotcha. And I see in the text what Ms. Clarissa says she has as well. So we all know what's needed in that. Introducing yourself, giving that background about you and what you do and your skills. The next slide is pretty much saying my frame of thought and what I thought would be helpful, because I know a lot of people who are very talented, very skilled in what they do. They're just not really comfortable in selling themselves. And I think that's kind of hard for us as women to do. I'm a mother. I don't know if everybody else in the room is a mother, but we are wonderful at pushing our children and pushing those that are close to us. And this is what you can do. This is who you are. You got this. But sometimes we struggle to do that for ourselves. And so before I left Sam's and before things started happening, I started just reevaluating myself and doing that self-inventory. So I just wanted to share some things that I do and say, okay, this is how I process to get myself ready for today. So I'm just going to be real transparent with you guys. And you guys have any questions, you want to jump in, feel free. Number one thing for me is smiling is contagious. We as mothers, as women, we understand that. We know what it's like to be around people who you don't know. but you may need to know, or they may need to know you. And we know when you walk in a room, you have to own that. At all times, you have to own it. And that was one of the things, because of just my personality, that I realized, you know, I would be in situations not really wanting to be out front, but because of my personality and how I carry myself when I walked in a room, things just naturally came to me. And so I started learning how to work that, because at Sam's, I did it all. I worked memberships in the store. I sold them outside the store. I collected money. I did it all. But I wanted to be that face that when people saw me, they were like, hey, I know she's going to help me. She's going to take care of me. And so this last slide was some things that I thought were necessary, because we don't always look at the person to make sure that you understand all the background of what's going on and how to walk in that room and own it. And so the second thing says you must believe that you are the person for the job. If you're not sure, then the person you're sharing with, they're not going to be sure either. Because you can hear or feel that hesitation if somebody's kind of reading to you from a script, like, okay, my name is, and I want to do this, and I'd like to work for your company. Here's my resume. They get that. They honestly get it. But it's a matter of saying, okay, when you walk in, you know, you do your homework. This is the person I want to connect to and get with them. You must be assertive and not be afraid to hear the word no. As a salesman, this is what I share with my children. I have 3 grown. You are your best marketer. You are the only person that can sell you to another person. Nobody should be able to come in and be able to share with others what you've done. You should be the person to say, I understand, I see what you need, I understand, I got you, I can do that. You have to do that. Somebody else will only give a few things, but the details, you are the best person to do that. And in the process of that, while we're loving on everybody else, we have to start taking the time to love on ourselves. And I know a lot of this stuff sounds elementary, and it is. It really is. But it's some things that we just overlook and we do not do for ourselves as women and as mothers. The next one is you got to accent those positive things. So before we got on and before we were talking on the Zoom, one of the things that Miss Ruth asked me about was, she was like, Audrey, where you get that lipstick? And she was like, I need to know where you get the lipstick. Now, I have a couple of things that make me stand out, and I work those things. My hair, you're not gonna find too many people that have that gray coming in the way I have my gray coming in. I pray for that. I love lipstick. Now today, I don't have on glitter, but on any given day, they will let you know that lipstick is gonna match. It's gonna have that glitter. And you will be amazed at the number of people that see all of that. That they see that, they recognize you. Again, you got to accent those things that make you stand out from everybody else, and don't be afraid to do that. The next one is you got to stay positive no matter what happens. Because as you're staying positive and as situations come about, sometimes it's just not your time right then, or it could be a better opportunity. A short something for me, from when I first got to Sam's, I went in for another job. I was not going in for that particular job. And I had a group of managers pull me into my last interview, and they asked me direct questions. And anybody knows me, I said, do you want the answer you want to hear, or you want the honest answer? And that gave me a job different from the sales position I was initially looking for. It gave me a different position, but it also put me in marketing, which led me to be a supervisor over the whole department. So sometimes we may be thinking about one thing, but depending on how you walk in, you carry yourself, it could open up to something else. And the last thing I had on here, all of these things sound elementary, but they're really important, is to make sure that you say thank you for your time and leave your information. It may not happen now, but if you give them something to think about and you're positive and you're smiling and you know that you're it may come later. It may be another situation. But those are the things that I wanted to add to that 30-second presentation to make sure that when we walk in or you meet that person, sometimes we meet people casually, passing, if you're already in the workforce, in a place, and you may meet them in the hallway, you can meet them going anywhere, and you just never know when you have that opportunity to do your 30-second pitch. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to come back over here. I'm learning a lot today, y'all. I'm trying to make sure I take care of all of this. And I want to do this. I have one prepared, but I want to see if anybody have any questions about anything that I shared so far. Because I want to demonstrate my 30-second pitch. But does anybody have any questions? Because I think everybody on here has worked a while. You've been out there, so you kind of know what to expect from others, but what have you done and how have you used those skills for yourself? Ms. Shanice, you have anything? Or you have anything that we can help you work on today in preparing a 30-second pitch for you?
I would just say for someone who's transitioning, I guess, like what is some advice for that individual, like who don't necessarily have, like has the schooling but hasn't had the professional experience? How do you sell yourself?
I would start with the skills that you already have. You have to constantly talk about those. If that is going into the field that you're interested in, I want you to highlight those. The things that you're strong at, I need you to accent those. And of course, when you're stepping into a new arena, I need you to feel good about yourself. I need you to know when you walk in, you have to own it. Good, bad, and indifferent. You have to own that. You have to keep that smile. You got to keep that positivity. And you have to do that homework ahead of time and just go for it, because the worst they can say is no. They can say yes, or they can say no, or they can say maybe. But I treat everything like a test. Everything to me is a test. Okay, I didn't get it today, but if there's something I can remember that maybe I didn't say or I did say, I'll go back over that and share it at a later time. So it's about feeling good about yourself. The one thing I didn't put in the slide is I have an affirmation. Well, I have a couple different things that I say to me every day. And that affirmation is 3 positive things that you say to yourself. Positive. And when you wake up or throughout today, you want to say, this is who I am. I love myself. I'm happy in my skin. I love my gray. I'm excited about the next chapter in my life. Those affirmations, believe it or not, will really come in handy during a time when you're struggling, you're trying to figure it out, because we're all figuring it out. And that's a great question. It's a matter of opening up and just being honest with yourself and just putting yourself out there, not afraid to hear the word no, because as a salesman, you get no all day long. I can't take it personal because they don't know me personal. It's just not my time yet. When my time comes, the door's going to open and everything's going to pooyah. It's going to blow up. But right now, this is practice.
Say, Miss Audrey, may I add something to her question?
Yes.
Shanice, I think you said if you have not had a lot of work experience, how would you start your 30-second commercial?
Yes, like if you're transitioning into a field that you have not had experience in, like for instance, I'll just tell you, so like I'm an English major with a concentration in creative writing, and I did that with the intention of going into the publishing field one day. I have not had that opportunity thus far. Like I've worked in banking, I've worked in insurance, but not actually in publishing, and I've just not lost that focus. And so how do I, express that I'm looking to transition to that?
It comes back to the employer, who you're in front of, what is the job you're trying to get. And the good news is that all of us have a story, and we have to try and figure out what that story is. So in our 30-second commercial, and Audrey's going to show you this in just a minute or two, you want to talk about just something about you personally, something about you professionally, and then where you've worked and what you've done. So if those two places that you've already worked, you came up with a skill set. Your skills may be in communication. They may be written and oral. You want to talk about that in your 30-second commercial. Your skills may be you have a wonderful ability to work by yourself, or you can work in groups. So you want to figure out what are your skills and talk about those skills and how those skills are going to help the employer accomplish whatever it is they're trying to do. And,
Right.
and you can do this even if you're just coming out of high school. You have a, because most of us, even in high school, we worked in, if we were on a sports team, maybe we were the captain of that sports team. Or if we were on the school newspaper, maybe we were the editor of the school newspaper. Maybe you didn't do anything in the high school, but maybe while you were in high school, you were in the choir at your local church and you were a team captain for the Sopranos. So what I'm trying to say is wherever you are and whatever portion of life you are in, figure out what you've done well. Try and quantify what you did well and try and come up with a relevant job skill for that organization that's going to help move that organization forward. Does that help at all?
Yes, it does. And actually, it gives me another question too. So when you said high school, that's just for someone who's just coming out, right?
Right.
Would you go that far back? Okay.
But all I'm saying is it doesn't matter. If you're in high school, you've got some good things you can talk about in terms of your 30-second commercial, because everybody is born someplace, everybody's from someplace, everybody has had some kind of skills, and they just grow as you get more and more experience. So I only use the high school example to say that everybody can come up with a good 30-second commercial, because even if the only thing you've done is to be at home and be in charge of 2 young sisters and brothers. You can talk about the skills that you had in supervising your young sisters and brothers, maybe keeping them on time, making sure they had their meals on time, making sure that they were safe. So there are things that you can talk about no matter where you are in life.
Okay, because like the one thing that I try to like include on my resume, even though I know that they say after a few years you really shouldn't focus too much on like college, but one of the things that I did was I was an intern for the North Texas Daily, which was our school's newspaper. And so with that being the only actual publishing experience, other than being able to help with a ATM manual at one of the banks that I worked at, just, it's okay to like pull back from things like that. Would you say like that long ago, college, or would you just focus on what you did in your jobs?
Well, if you were talking about something that's more than 10 years in the past, again, what you'd want to focus on is what you learned, the relevant skills that you picked up. So while you were working with your college paper or while you were helping to write the employer manual, your writing skills were being developed. Perhaps you learned what it is that you need to do to create interest in a piece, how you address a particular audience. Those are the kinds of things that you want to highlight. Not necessarily where it was, but what the skills were that you learned while you were there.
Okay, thank you.
And to add with that, you said you helped with the manual on your job?
ATM, for our new ATM that we had. So basically they wanted me to be able to write in a way where employees that came after would be able to know how to go about, balancing the ATM and replenishing it and stuff like that. And because there were a lot of steps, and so they basically tasked me with that, and I thought that was something to highlight on my resume. But then, with it being a few years ago, it's like how far back do you really discuss that? But like she was saying, just keep highlighting, I guess, your skills, not necessarily the time period. But yeah,
I would definitely tag that is real important.
okay.
Anything that you can put out there can help anybody figure out a process and get things done. Like she said with the resume, keep it simple and make sure that everybody's able to move forward and to keep the business going and flowing. That's great.
It's technical writing.
And technical writing is what you did, and I don't think you don't look old enough, Shanice, that 10 years has passed. So the old rule used to be anything that was 10 years and back would be, you take it off. You take the organization off. But I'm curious as to what Tara might want to come in, because Tara, I think, might have some input on this.
I would highlight your technical writing skills and tie it along with your internship at the university, and make sure you highlight that you still have a zeal in pursuing that area of career.
Okay.
In your when you're selling yourself, let them know that this has been your lifelong dream. This is your zest, and even though you did not pursue it immediately out of university, it still is a lifelong zeal, and you still have a passion for it.
And if you could highlight something that you received the technical writing skill, and because of your technical writing skill, your newspaper in college perhaps gained 15% in circulation, or you brought more people to the paper than had ever read the paper, or it was being circulated at a wider level. If you can tie the skill you had with some type of accomplishment during that time frame, that's what will catch the interviewer's eye. I mean, the recruiter's eye.
All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. Thank you for the input too, as well, Miss Tara. So let's go back. So I can't remember when I asked about anybody doing a 30-second pitch. I think everybody said yes, that they have. So we have any other questions before I give my example? And then we can open up the floor for any additional questions.
No questions.
Okay, great. So with that, I'm going to share you guys my 30-second. I didn't use it. I did, but in a different setting. It was just very casual. So this would be my 30-second if I was just walking into the Fraser House, Zan Wesley, and was looking for an opportunity. I would greet the person, whoever I was speaking with, and say, my name is Audrey Brown. I have 18 years of work experience, and I am known as a problem solver and a customer service specialist. I am aware that Zan Wesley Holmes Junior Community Outreach Center has community-based programs to help improve job skills and gainful employment. I would like to work with the organization to educate the community about jobs and improve personal skills. I am available to meet with you this week about how we can collaborate to work together to continue to help the community. And then if I had a resume, if I had a card, then I would share that with them. The whole time letting them know I have done my homework on your center. I am aware of what you guys are doing and how I can plug into that. So, Ms. Ruth, how was that, ma'am?
I think that was wonderful. And because what Audrey has done is to show us that every time somebody says, tell me about yourself, you want to be able to have that 30-second commercial. Every time that you have the opportunity to meet someone, you want to share that 30-second commercial. So this is something that you'll use over and over and over again. So this is something you want to spend some time on in developing. It's not something that you necessarily have to memorize, but it's good to have written it down so that you can refresh yourself and you can go back to it over and over again. Because every time you have an interview and someone says, tell me about yourself, rather than beginning just from scratch, you've got your 30-second commercial. But you do want to tailor your 30-second commercial to the job that you're looking for. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I ever used to make was that I would be in a scattered frame of mind. I'd be shooting at whatever came about. You don't want to have an unfocused target. You want to focus like a laser. So Audrey, I think that was an excellent example.
Thank you, ma'am. The other thing I would add to that is practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect, and it's not necessarily always perfect, but when you're in situations, if you're at home, you'll be amazed at the things that, just the small things that you could tweak, because the more you do it, you can also ad-lib and give other situations for a different job setting or a different situation. So I would just say practice, practice, practice. Me coming from my background, I had an opportunity When I moved around, I had to do it quick. If I had managers standing there asking me about my work history, I had to sell them quick. Sometimes I knew the manager, sometimes I didn't. But they had heard enough about me. They wanted to know. And I was able to sell myself and say, but this is what I'm able to do. And this is what I have done. How can I help? So.
Miss Audrey, would you
Yeah.
mind if I come in for just a second?
Sure.
Audrey has given you some excellent things that you can do that are very positive. Some things you may want to stay away from in your 30-second commercial would be any conversation about children who are under 18 years of age. Probably want to stay away from religion, politics. These things can be polarizing. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if they care anything about religion. You don't know if they're on the other side of the political spectrum. I'm telling you, I used to make this mistake all the time, sharing too much. So you don't want to share too much, and information about your family life and your children, religion and politics may be a bridge too far. You just don't want to start out with that in your 30-second commercial. Not saying that you won't get to that perhaps at some point, but you don't want to start your 30-second commercial with that and just turn people off.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. The last thing I would say in the in this whole thing about the 30-second pitch, ladies, do not be afraid to ask for the job or ask for the pay. Do not be afraid to ask. I've been in situations, and I'm pretty sure we all have, from just the conversations we've had today. You've been in situations where people walked in and they knew exactly what they wanted. They knew what they were willing to do. Do not be afraid to ask for an opportunity to sit down and to discuss what you're able to do for the organization, how you would like to help, and the money that you're interested in. That goes later after the 30-second pitch. But as mothers and as women, don't be afraid. The only way you won't receive something is if you don't ask. Closed mouth don't get fed. So, Miss Ruth, okay, you know I'm gonna be real. Anybody have any questions for me? I'm the straight shooter of the bunch, guys. I'm gonna put out there what you think, and I want to make sure we understand. Everybody good?
Yes,
Ms.
I'm
Ruth,
good.
I thank you for joining.
I see that we have a Miss Ellis who has come in, and we are happy that Miss Ellis has come in as well. Now, tell me, Tara says that this was a refresher. Shanice tells me that this was a refresher. I know that we did this at a fairly elementary level. Point out you all so that we can be of use to others as they come through this class. Maybe you want to give us a few hints on what additional things we might want to cover in this workshop.
For me, I think it was very cut and simple and dry and straight to the point, which for me, how I receive and learn, it's great. As a presenter and a trainer though, to keep everyone focused on what you're presenting, you may want to present in the presentation mode when you run your PowerPoints so that they don't see the notes and the white space on the side. Their focus is totally on what is being discussed and presented.
Okay, great. Great, thank you.
I receive that, ma'am. I'm learning how to be a technical supporter.
It's down when you're looking at your PowerPoint. Down at the bottom, it'll look like it's 2 or 3 little desks. It's usually at the bottom right. When you look at the desk, it'll tell you which mode that you are in. When you are presenting, you always want to be in presentation mode.
Thank you. I received that.
I received that as well. Thank you so much. Was the information itself though, was the information itself useful in terms of a refresher?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Miss Shanice, we want some feedback from you as well.
She said yes.
Yeah, the information was definitely good. And then I just like how you guys had that time for Q&A, you know, for people who just have specific questions. So I appreciate all of that.
Okay.
Great.
All right. All right. All right. Miss C, what about you?
I think she's muted.
Okay. Well, we are happy that you all joined us today. We are happy that we are able to provide this information through Zoom. Both of you are incredibly elegant and charming women that we wish that we had the face-to-face opportunity to meet just to say hello. And I'm happy to meet people who are out into the workplace and who are obviously on the way up. I mean, that's very encouraging for me. So thank you today for joining us. Thank you for being part of this presentation. I invite you to stay on Facebook, continue to look at the website for additional offerings that are being held by Zan Homes. And probably I should ask Miss Jasmine, are you still here? Would you like to say some words before we close today? Ms. Jasmine may have stepped away in preparation for the next session. So is there any other way that we might be able to help you, or any questions we might be able to answer about Zan Homes or about Oasis Center? Because we are here to serve you.
And I would like to add to that, if you have anything you'd like to learn more about, if we don't know, we will also find the right people to bring that presentation to the group. So if there's something in particular that we may not have covered, please let us know in the comments or on your survey so that we can tap into that and make sure we're providing quality information and information that is desired, the information.
You said on the website we can say that, or should I say it now? I'm
You
sorry.
can say it now, you can do it through the survey. We're open for right now if there's something in particular.
Oh, no, it's okay. I can follow up on the survey.
Okay, great. We're always open.
Will the survey be sent to the email address for which we registered the class for?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can always reach out to Jasmine Anderson at ZWHJCOC.org, or my name is Audrey Brown, ZWHJCOC.org. Miss
I would just like,
go ahead.
I would just like to add, I appreciate you ladies, and I feel through the Zoom, a lot of times you don't connect virtually, and it's like pulling teeth connect virtually, but I really felt not that you were just giving me information for the sake of you signed up to present, but I felt nurtured today, and I really do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful,
Wonderful. Thank you also, Ms. C, for your information through Zoom.
Yes.
So this really ends our presentation for today. We wanted to start on time and we want to end on time. And this is something we'd like to do at Zan Homes, is to start on time and end on time and hopefully give you a good experience. So again, we invite you to come back anytime. And hopefully we'll run into you somewhere in DFW. And if there's nothing else, then I suppose we'll be signing off for today. Miss Loretta and Miss Audrey, if you will stay a few minutes afterwards, I would appreciate that.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you,
ladies, have a
so much.